Loads slip or shift, riggers and nearby workers are at risk of injury or even. Welcome to Rigging Safety for Construction Training. Rigging is a critical task in construction. It allows workers to safely move heavy, oversized, and irregularly shaped materials around the job site. To do this job safely, workers must pay close attention and follow safety rules. If safety rules aren't followed, it can lead to serious consequences such as property damage, injuries, or even death. This training is designed to help you recognize rigging hazards and follow best practices to stay safe while working with or near rigging equipment. After completing this training, you'll be able to identify which type of worker is authorized to perform rigging tasks, recognize the types of hazards associated with the rigging process, and explain safe work practices related to the inspection and operation of rigging equipment. Let's get started by reviewing the basics of rigging and the equipment used to safely lift and move loads. Rigging is the process of attaching load-bearing equipment to a load so it can be safely moved. Riggers may connect loads to structures, hook or unhook loads, or guide them into place by communicating with equipment operators. Rigging is often used to move heavy, bulky, or oddly shaped materials. These loads can be difficult to handle, making safety and precision critical. Once rigged, the load is lifted and moved by a crane or other equipment to its destination. According to OSHA, a qualified rigger is someone who has a recognized degree or certification, or who has extensive knowledge, training, and experience, and can demonstrate the ability to safely rig loads. This means they must have the knowledge, training, or experience to safely perform rigging tasks. A qualified rigger for one type of load may not be qualified for another. They must understand the load's characteristics and evaluate worksite conditions. As much as we don't like to talk about accidents, we need to. It should go without saying, no one wants to be part of an on-the-job accident, but they do happen from time to time. Some employees get injured, resulting in physical pain, reduced productivity, and potential loss of income. And some accidents even result in death. Fortunately, many accidents can be avoided by taking precautionary steps and following safe work practices. Improper rigging or equipment failure can lead to serious accidents. When loads slip or shift, riggers and nearby workers are at risk of injury or even death. Always use proper rigging techniques and equipment to ensure safety. Riggers face fall hazards often due to poor housekeeping. Be aware of your surroundings. Check for uneven or obstructed walkways and wet or slippery areas. On elevated surfaces, watch for unprotected edges. Pre-walk your path and remove potential hazards. Be aware of any struck by and crushing hazards present when rigging. These two types of hazards are closely related because it's possible if someone gets struck by an object, it could likely result in that person being crushed or pinned by a nearby object or structure. Struck by and crushing hazards are created by defective gear and equipment, moving parts and equipment, and loads not safely rigged before being hoisted. Additionally, improper use of tagline, allowing hoisting material to swing out of control, loads swung or suspended overhead, and hazardous locations between a swinging load and fixed object. Electrical hazards are a serious concern during rigging, especially when hoisting or hauling equipment is used near energized power lines. Always identify overhead power lines and maintain a minimum distance of 10 feet for lines up to 50 kV and greater distances for higher voltages, as required by OSHA 1926.1408. Before using any rigging equipment, make sure it has legible ID markings. Never exceed the safe working load. Remove unused gear from the work area and take damaged or defective equipment out of service immediately. OSHA requires slings and rigging equipment to be inspected before each use and periodically by a competent person, per 1926.251. Job site conditions change quickly and equipment can be damaged during use. Ongoing checks help keep everyone safe. A sling is an assembly which connects the load to the material handling equipment. Their strength and condition directly affect the safety of every lift. Slings come in different materials, each suited to specific loads and conditions. Choosing the right sling is essential for a safe lift. Alloy steel chain slings are strong, durable, and heat-resistant, ideal for rugged loads. Always use rated attachments and avoid makeshift or non-alloy components. Wire rope slings are flexible and abrasion-resistant. Use padding to protect them from sharp edges and never pull a sling from under a resting load. Synthetic web slings are lightweight and flexible, making them great for protecting delicate surfaces. Always check rated capacity markings and follow the manufacturer's use instructions as required by OSHA 1926.2-51. Fiber rope slings are used for temporary lifts and are ideal for gripping loads without damaging the surface. Inspect for broken fibers, abnormal wear, or signs of rot before use. Sling hitches are sling configurations used to safely lift loads. The type of hitch you choose depends on the load's shape, weight, and balance. A vertical hitch lifts a load from a single point. The sling hangs straight down and carries the full rated capacity. A choker hitch wraps around the load and tightens when lifted. It's best for round or cylindrical objects, but reduces sling capacity. A basket hitch forms a U shape under the load. With both legs vertical, it distributes weight evenly and maximizes capacity. A bridle hitch uses multiple sling legs connected to a single lifting point. It helps balance loads with multiple attachment points. When planning how to rig a specific load, always consider the load angle to ensure the lift can be performed safely. The working load limit of a sling depends on how it's configured. Understanding how sling angle and configuration affect capacity is critical to safe rigging. A vertical hitch has a 90-degree load angle. The sling hangs straight down and carries the full rated capacity without added stress. A choker hitch tightens around the load, creating a load angle less than 90 degrees. The tighter the choke, the more the angle decreases, and so does the sling's capacity. A basket hitch forms a U shape under the load. With both legs vertical, the load angle is 90 degrees, maximizing sling capacity. A bridle hitch often has a load angle of 45 degrees or less. Lower angles increase tension on each leg and reduce the sling's capacity. Imagine you need to move a portable welder to another location on the job site using a mobile crane. If the welder has a strong designated attachment point, you can connect the crane hook directly to it. But if the attachment point is weak or missing, you must use a sling to safely lift and support the load during the move. Hooks are just as they sound, a curved piece of material that enter through an opening on a load or rigging equipment, allowing the object to hang directly from it once elevated. Some hooks are permanently attached to machinery, like mobile cranes, while others can be temporarily attached during the rigging process. Before using a hook, check that it's free of sharp edges and securely attached. If the load doesn't have a strong attachment point, use a sling to support it safely. However, if the hook is too big for the attachment point on the load, or the hook just isn't ideal for the situation, you'll need another piece of equipment to complete the rigging. This is where shackles come into play. Shackles are used when a hook is too large or not ideal for the lift. They connect the load to the sling or hook and come in different sizes and styles to suit specific rigging needs. Clear communication among everyone involved in rigging and hoisting is essential for safety and efficiency. Job sites are often noisy, busy, and full of distractions, which can make verbal communication difficult. That's why hand signals are commonly used. They're simple, effective, and help ensure everyone understands what's happening and what needs to be done. This only works when all workers are trained on the signals and use them consistently. Signal persons must be qualified according to OSHA 1926.1428. They must demonstrate knowledge of standard signals and be assessed by a qualified evaluator, with documentation maintained by the employer. For example, you may need to help unhook a portable welder that's being moved to your area. With all the sounds from the machines and trucks running nearby, it's likely pretty noisy. And add the fact everyone is wearing hearing protection, so there's no way the machine operator can hear what you're saying. By using hand signals, you too can effectively communicate to successfully position and lower the welder into the desired location. OSHA provides a set of standard hand signals for crane operations to promote clear and consistent communication. However, it's important to check with your employer to see if there are any specific hand signals used on your job site. Following site-specific communication protocols helps ensure everyone stays on the same page. It's important that all rigging equipment and attachments are in good condition to do their jobs safely. This includes custom-designed accessories such as hooks, grabs, or clamps. If it's damaged or worn, it shouldn't be used. During inspections, look for missing sling identification tags, cracks, breaks, excessive wear, burns, heat damage, corrosion, or any signs of deterioration. If you find any of these, take the equipment out of service immediately. Inspections might feel tedious, but they're essential, especially since job site conditions can change quickly. Even if equipment looks fine before use, it can become damaged during operation. That's why ongoing inspection is critical. A rope might look fine at first, but once weight is applied, fibers can break or unravel. Heat can cause drying and brittleness. Moisture can lead to rust and corrosion. That's why it's so important to inspect equipment regularly. When using custom-designed grabs, hooks, clamps, or other lifting accessories, always check for markings that indicate the safe working load. These markings are critical for ensuring the equipment is used within its rated capacity. Whenever possible, stay clear of suspended loads. This means avoiding the fall zone, which OSHA defines as the area where it is reasonably foreseeable that suspended materials could fall if something goes wrong. The higher the load is lifted, the larger the fall zone becomes. Always stay alert and outside of this danger area. Most workers are not allowed inside the fall zone, even when the load isn't moving. OSHA allows a few exceptions. Only workers who are hooking, unhooking, guiding a load, making the initial connection, or operating a concrete hopper or bucket may enter the fall zone. When workers are hooking, unhooking, guiding a load, or making the initial connection to a structure, and they must be in the fall zone, certain safety criteria must be met. The load must be rigged to prevent shifting or falling. Hooks must have self-closing latches or an equivalent safety feature, and the rigging must be done by a qualified rigger. When a load is being set down, also known as being landed, only employees needed to receive the load are permitted to be within the fall zone. This is the moment when hands-on guidance is often required to position the load safely. Workers may guide a suspended load by hand only when the load is low enough to control safely. There's no risk of being struck if it falls or swings, and the area is free of trip hazards. If a worker needs to guide a load that's too high or unstable to control by hand, tag lines or other remote guiding tools must be used. These tools help maintain control while keeping a safe distance. When it comes to tilt-up or tilt-down operations, only essential employees are allowed in the fall zone. But what makes someone essential? They might be physically guiding the load into position. That sometimes requires close proximity when it can't be done safely from outside the zone. They could be closely monitoring the load and giving instructions about its movement. This includes signal persons or supervisors who must maintain visual contact and direct the operation. Or they may be attaching the load to a structure or detaching it from one, like making an initial connection or installing bracing when those actions can't be done from outside the fall zone and cannot be done from outside the fall zone. The employer must determine whether an employee's task truly requires them to be inside the fall zone. They must be able to show that the task cannot be done safely from outside the zone. These rules apply only to tilt-up and tilt-down operations not to receiving a load. Rigging is important for safely moving heavy and oddly shaped materials on construction sites. To stay safe, workers should follow safety rules, check their equipment often, and watch for hazards. Effective communication and planning help reduce risks and avoid accidents. Keeping the job site safe is a shared job that needs everyone to work together.